Okay. This article is in the news. You can go and read it. I think it's currently the latest article. Test the new aircraft carrier and AA mechanics. It's going to tell you about the test. It's going to tell you how to download the test, which you can do via Wargaming Center. No, you cannot do it via Steam. Captains. Last year, we presented a concept to address persistent problems in interactions between surface ships and aircraft carriers. The first playtest last summer was meant to check the viability of that concept. Thanks to your participation, I participated. We gathered invaluable feedback and data, and were satisfied with the overall results. Nevertheless, there was a lot of work to do regarding balance and UI improvements. You might remember that one of the things that I said was, I haven't heard them mention UI once up until now. And I was really concerned that a lot of the information that wasn't available in the UI would not be made available in the UI. Fortunately, I think a bit of whinging, once again, has made them realize that maybe that's something they need to look at. Obviously not just me, but I hope I contributed to that. And I am very happy to see that the word UI appears in this document many times, which is really good. Over the past months, we conducted several internal tests as well as a closed test with the participation of our volunteers. Now we're working on polishing the new design as we aim to implement it on the live servers this year. Your feedback allowed us to significantly improve the initial concept, and we would like to invite you to participate in the second public iteration of these mechanics. So the previous one was July last year. So that was 9 months ago, roughly. All subject to change, blah, blah, blah. So the test starts tomorrow as I am talking. So 3 p.m. CET. No, sorry, that was a download. Test starts 3 p.m. my time, so 4 p.m. CET on Wednesday the 26th, and it goes on for a week. Testing will commence on the Clan ST server. So that's the client you need to download, and if you want to know how to do that, the instructions are there. But you have to do it via the Wargaming Center. Rewards. First, you can simply play on the CST server to get the following rewards. Play 1 battle to get 3,000 coal, play 6 battles to get 1,000 doubloons, and play 11 in total to receive another 1,000 doubloons. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good incentive. Additionally, we'll conduct another giveaway this time for Georgia Enterprise and Kutuzov. 10 random battles playing destroyers, cruisers, battleships to enter the raffle for 1 of 5 Georgias. 10 in carriers to raffle for an Enterprise. And 10 in any other ship to pay any ship to enter a raffle for 1 of 5 Kutuzovs. The rewards will be delivered no later than a week after the end of testing. You can only win one of these ships. If you already have the ship on your account, you will receive doubloon compensation. Brief recap. The new design aims to reduce spotting by aircraft overall and remove unintentional spotting by aircraft, as well as making AA more impactful while ensuring aircraft carriers remain viable in battles. So the concept hasn't changed of what they wanted to achieve originally. My concern at the end of the last test, and if you want to listen to me talking about the last test, it's on YouTube. I think I've published it. Maybe I haven't, but I can make it available if people are interested, because I would go through a big summary of what I think. But basically, my concern with carrier gameplay was that it became really, really boring, and the role of carriers was narrowed to such an extent that they just basically became really horrible and one-dimensional and just not interesting, and their match influence, which is already significantly less than any of the surface classes, was even less, in my opinion. They were having even less of a battle impact, so virtually no battle impact. So it just didn't matter what your carrier did. It made no difference whatsoever. So hopefully they backed off that a little bit. After the first public test, we outlined additional improvements to achieve, making the new design more intuitive, because one of the things was it wasn't very intuitive in terms of what was going on above your head as a surface ship, or as a carrier, actually. By improving interactions between ships and aircraft and making them easier to understand. So, for example, one of the things which is also true on live right now, when the squadron split into two, so the attacking part and the non-attacking part, there's no clue on the minimap as to which icon is the attacking wing and which icon is not the attacking wing. So you don't know where to focus your AA, and you don't know whether they're coming for you and all this kind of stuff. And but the new system kind of made that even worse. And so hopefully now they have fixed that, so they're going to give them different icons. They've also, I think, introduced sort of a warning system that's a bit like the torpedo warnings, where you get icons coming up on the UI that tell you about any dangers from aircraft in the vicinity, which is good. Make changes to some of the older systems tied to aircraft to have better quality of life and to provide room for future improvements. Several important changes have been implemented since the last public test in July. We've already mentioned them, but let's go over them once more. The recon mode timer will be separate for each squadron. So this is the amount of time you get to spot things. So they've introduced sort of like a dive juice type thing for the submarines. So like the opposite, if you like. So you know, instead of... Actually, no, it's the same. So instead of having dive juice that allows you to go down in a submarine, you have flying juice that allows you to go down in a plane, basically. But it's only restored while your squadron is not in active use. I'm assuming that means back on the carrier. Manual AA, previously priority sector, will combine old and new designs covering 360 degrees, so you don't have that weird arbitrary split down the middle anymore. And you don't have to do that thing where you like have to spin the camera around while you're doing something different. A new symbol has introduced that directly increases incoming damage from aircraft directly decreases incoming damage from aircraft and all types of torpedoes. This, I'm not sure about this. Because I know why they've included all torpedoes is because they probably can't easily separate the plane torpedoes from the ship torpedoes. But by allowing people to massively decrease all torpedoes, and of course you're going to take way more normal torpedoes than you are going to take plane torpedoes, that's a big nerf for anything that has long-range torpedoes. I'm not sure about that. Shell explosions flak have been completely removed. I'm a bit sad about that. I quite like the mechanic. I quite like the weaving through the flak. Also, I'm really good at it. So that's annoying. Patrol fighters... Combat air patrol and fighters can't spot ships and receive additional balance changes. Notice that doesn't include spotter. Various UI and audio improvements have been implemented to make mechanics easier to navigate both for surface ship and carrier players. Hybrid ships will have their aircraft behave in the same way as those originating from aircraft carriers. Guys, I'm not reading chat, so if you want to specifically ask me a question while I'm going through this, you need to tag me, because I'm not reading. Changes to aircraft carriers. While there are quite a few changes compared to the first iteration, we're sticking to the same concept. Aircraft will operate in 3 distinct modes. This is the same as it was before, but the implementation is a bit different. So, travel, attack, and recon. Each with its own goals and rules. Based on player feedback, we've brought back the speedometer, so this is the boost meter thing, as well as the enhanced aiming UI, which was the midpoint marker that they removed in the last test, which was very disorientating. Instead of the engine boost bar, a new consumable that increases the maximum speed of aircraft in all 3 modes has been introduced. Special UI and visual elements were added to better differentiate between the modes. Okay, so here you have the different modes. So, travel mode, planes operate at high altitudes. They can't spot enemy ships directly, so you have to rely on spotting from your teammates. So if you can't see anything, so it's not spotted, it's not spotted. At the same time, your planes can detect enemy aircraft and be spotted by other planes and surface ships. Planes are safe from AA fire in travel mode, however they can be damaged by fighters and interceptors, so you still need to be careful not to fly into those zones. Non-player controlled aircraft such as fighters do not use this mode and remain vulnerable to AA, so ships will still be able to shoot down circling fighters and circling interceptors. And presumably circling spotters. Planes will move significantly faster, so you can quickly traverse the map and reach your targets. The speed can be additionally adjusted with the W and S keys. Pressing F at high altitude will return the entire squadron to the carrier. All right. So decreasing travel time to target should in theory increase carrier DPM. So that's interesting. Attack mode. In attack mode, planes operate at low altitudes. Activate attack mode by clicking the left mouse button, same as it is now. One attacking flight will start descending while the rest of the squadron remains at high altitudes, similar to now. As you start the descent, your plane starts spotting ships, but also become vulnerable to AA fire. Planes don't have reduced maneuverability during the beginning of the attack preparation, so you can still turn the same way you can normally. When the reticle turns green, you can click the left mouse button again to launch the attack, so very similar to now. After an attack run begins, you have limited time to fire or drop your payload. If the attack is not manually inputted, it will be carried out automatically. So that is a change, because currently now, if you don't do anything, you just fly out of it and climb again. But it will drop automatically. After the attack, the flight returns to the carrier. At that moment, you either gain control of the rest of the squadron, or if there's nothing left, you go back to the carrier. Destroyed aircraft in the attacking flight are not replaced. This is critical. This is the same as the last test as well. Meaning that shooting down the planes actually stops the attack. So if you have a flight coming in and you kill some of the planes, as you kill those planes, you are decreasing the power of that attack directly. It's not like you have to chew through the entire flight before you get to the planes that actually start to reduce the attack, which is great because it means your AA actually does stuff. Because right now, if you shoot down planes, you're not necessarily reducing the power of the attack if it's a multi-part flight. Only the Russian carriers have that effect. If the entire attacking flight is destroyed, the run is aborted and your camera is switched back to the part of the squadron in travel mode. Every time you attack, the planes will regroup, so the attacking flight will consist of the planes with the most hit points left. So surface ships can reduce the power of an attack run, but the healthiest planes will always join the attack run. More heavily damaged planes will stay at high altitudes. So presumably your last ditch attempt flight will be crappy because it will be all the knocked up on fire planes. Each part of the squadron can receive damage separately. For example, the attacking flight will receive AA damage, whilst the rest of the planes can get damaged by enemy fighters. Which begs an interesting question. Presumably the high altitude ones exactly mirror the lower ones in terms of where they are, because otherwise the high altitude ones could just bumble into a fighter and you're not in control of them. That would be really annoying. But I'm assuming they just mirror each other at different altitudes. You can always press F during attack to abandon it and return the attacking flight to the aircraft carrier, which is really good because currently getting your planes back is kind of annoying. Developer's note. Based on feedback from the recent test, last July, we've reworked the attack process on all aircraft carriers to make it smoother and more comfortable for aircraft carrier players. Aiming time and squadron survivability have been reworked to support the interactions of planes and ships in the new system. My experience of the previous test was that attacking took it was like literally a third of the map you would need to have a run up, because you needed to come down. You needed to come down from high to middle to attacking, and that stepping down took a really, really long distance. And so you needed to choose your target from a really, really long way away, and you pretty much had to go straight. And I just hated that. It felt horrible as the carrier player, so hopefully this makes it closer to what it is now. We'll see. Planes take full AA damage when starting the descent now. The aircraft survivability system has changed to balance this. Hopefully this will make it a bit more understandable, because I think the current system of when planes do and don't take damage is really confusing. Even as a carrier player, I'm not entirely sure that I understand it. When several AA auras from different ships attack the same target, the efficiency of each separate AA aura decreases to make the interactions between planes and ships more balanced. That's similar to what it is now. Planes still will receive greater damage when facing a group of ships, but they will have additional time to react. The reticle display mechanic changed. The reticle on a squadron previously displayed the point where your reticle would reach its optimal spread. After the changes, it instead shows the earliest position where the airplane can drop its payload. Oh my god, that's going to screw me up so badly. That is going to screw me up so badly. because I pay so much attention to that reticle. I don't think most players do, because most players, when I've asked people, most people can't describe what it is. That's going to screw me over because I've trained myself to pay a lot of attention to that reticle. Anyway, additionally, a second smaller version of the reticle was implemented, which is now the indicator. Oh, okay, so they've put both in. Okay, that's cool. All right, okay, cool. That's nice. We've significantly changed the aiming parameters, and you won't be so heavily penalized for moving the reticle. Okay. You can speed up or slow down. Oh, is this going to fix the German reticle? That'd be cool. Is this going to stop the German rocket reticle going, whee? Maybe it will. Maybe I can finally play German carriers without having to swear every 2 seconds. That'd be nice. We've significantly changed the aiming parameters, and you won't be so... Okay, run on. You can speed up or slow down in attack mode. The attacking flight's cruising speed is lower than in travel mode, meaning its minimum and maximum speeds are lower too. Okay. Then we have recon mode. Recon mode is your new spotting tool. You can activate it by pressing the Q button while in travel mode. In this mode, planes operate at low altitudes. When activated, a flight of planes will briefly disband to spot opponents, but in turn your planes will be vulnerable to AA. Each squadron has a recon mode timer that depletes while in use. If the flight in recon mode is destroyed, you switch back to the remaining squadron, blah blah blah. After that, you can start another squadron. If you run out of time while in recon mode, the planes will automatically return to travel mode. So it's very similar to the submarine dive time. Overall UI improvements to make the mechanic more intuitive. The only way to replenish the recon timer is to return the planes to the carrier. This encourages carriers to rotate their squadrons in battle. Recon mode can't be immediately activated or deactivated. Transition time has been implemented to avoid potential dolphining. These are just submarines in the sky. If you see a suitable target, you can start the attack from recon mode. However, some preparation time is still required. Okay. That sounds good. And then manual control of secondary guns, which I have no idea why they have linked this to this change. They could have separated this and delivered it by now. I don't understand why this is being delivered at the same time. Anyway, while not piloting aircraft, you can take control of your carrier's secondary guns. For the carriers with mixed secondary armaments, you control the large caliber guns, while the smaller caliber guns remain automatic. If the carrier doesn't have any secondaries, it will operate as it did before. When controlling a carrier, you must manually use DCP. Once you launch your planes, the consumable will become automatic again. So it doesn't look like they've changed anything with this. As part of this change, the settings of fires on aircrafts were adjusted to be closer to those on battleships. Now they last longer and deal more damage in total, but in turn, carriers cannot be relit on fire constantly, which led them to suffering higher damage compared to battleships on fire before. Duration of fire 45 seconds, damage per second 0.3%. Okay. Changes to surface ships. We've revamped existing AA tools and introduced new ones to give surface ships more ways to fight aircraft. Manual AA defense reinforcement. Matter. What's the matter? After reviewing your feedback, we decided to combine the best of the old and new designs of this mechanic. When activated, it will cover the whole AA area around the ship and buff AA damage. Manual AA defense reinforcement can be activated by pressing O or tilde, depending on your region, and it takes effect within your AA range. It instantly deals a percentage of damage proportional to the attacking flight's health. Don't forget that flak is being removed. Additionally, it temporarily buffs all continuous AA damage. The effect will gradually get weaker over its duration. Automatic AA defense reinforcement. Automatic AA is a new defensive tool intended to discourage aircraft from repeatedly attacking the same ship. I do not like this. While your AA is shooting enemy aircraft, a special progress bar will passively charge up, which I hope is visible to both the attacking carrier and the ship that is there, because last time it wasn't at all. Similar to combat instructions, once your progress reaches 100%, a passive bonus to AA damage automatically activates. In this iteration, the progress won't decay even if you don't damage enemy planes for a while. Okay. After activation, automatic AA defense reinforcement will start losing its charge. What? If it's not attacking planes, it will happen slower than if it's active. What? What does that mean? When your AA is shooting enemy aircraft, a special progress bar will charge up. Okay. In this iteration, the progress won't decay. After activation, automatic AA defense reinforcement will start losing its charge. What does that mean? If it doesn't decay, it passively charges up while it's shooting and it can't decay. What does losing its charge mean? I don't understand what that means. That's saying two different things. There is no limit on how many times automatic AA can be activated in the battle, though you won't get any charge while AAA is already active. That doesn't make any sense. Aircraft can see automatic AA if it enters its radius. It will have different visual effects. I don't understand that. Does Bin explain us to understand this? If it's not being used, it goes away slower, but it says it doesn't go away. The progress won't decay. It says it right there. So does it or doesn't it? I don't understand what this means. This is really confusingly worded. As you charge it, you don't lose charge. After you've but it's automatic. What do you mean after you've activated it? This is a passive tool, isn't it? It passively charges up. It doesn't say anything here about the player activating it. But it activates automatically, right? This could be way better explained. I do not understand this. I'm only reading Bin's comments, by the way, because you're all saying different things. Yes, I don't know what yes was in response to. This section needs rewriting. I do not understand this. Defensive AA fire. Defensive AA fire will remain mostly unchanged from the way it works on the live server. Besides providing bonuses to shell explosions, since they have been removed, even without this, defensive AA fire will remain an efficient AA tool in the new system. Yeah, I don't understand that at all. Not a clue. Aerial and torpedo defense systems. Aerial and torpedo defense systems is a new consumable in testing that allows you to protect your ship from incoming attack. It directly reduces incoming damage from rockets, bombs, and all types of torpedoes. This I find really interesting, because this is going to massively reduce any surface ship that has torpedoes, potentially. Especially ones that really rely on those torpedoes. Because you take a lot of torps in this game. And so even if you're not mounting this for aerial defense, it's going to be a really nice thing to mount on ships that take a lot of torpedoes. And so that's going to be a massive balance change, potentially. I'm not sure about that. It will be available as an option from certain ships, either in a separate slot or sharing it with an already existing consumable. To support this, we've added special visual effects. Alarm lights to indicate the consumable is active. We've adjusted bonuses. Okay. Yeah, numbers can and likely will be adjusted. Oh, so you can separately impact different ships. So I'd assume that the reason that you've done this is because you can't differentiate between, or don't want to differentiate between, plane-dropped torpedoes and ship-dropped torpedoes, because it would be too much work. Other changes. Shell explosion removal. Shell explosions have been a key component of the current AA mechanic, and it's one I actually really like. However, after extensive testing, we've determined that they can no longer align with the new design. With carriers now managing additional elements, the mechanic has become overwhelming. For whom? As a result, we have decided to remove shell explosions entirely, and the new system has been balanced accordingly. That said, they may return in a future, more supportive role. If that happens, we'll be sure to keep you informed. In the new design, aircraft gameplay has become faster, and even small mistakes or delays in decision-making are now more punishing than before. On top of that, Carrier players now have more elements to manage, such as new altitude system, countermeasures from surface ships, and completely reworked attack patterns. With so many things to keep track of, the gameplay demands greater focus. Even brief hesitation or less than optimal choices. I'm wondering what that's referring to. What is it that you're going to have to react to quickly? That you don't have to react to now. These constant rapid decisions naturally create skill checks throughout the match. The current AA explosion system has its issues too. Flak explosions aren't very intuitive for new players. Many don't understand how to react to them, this I agree with. And at the same time, experienced players tend to quickly outgrow them, making flak feel more like an early learning obstacle. That is true. Once you learn how to dodge them, they're pretty easy. Yeah, because of this, we believe flak system. Okay. If testing shows the update to carry gameplay lacks depth, it certainly will visually lack depth. We look into ways to add more interactions. They could just add them back as a cosmetic. Because one of the coolest things about carrier gameplay is flying through the flak, because it looks really cool. It's one of my favorite things. It's like, just visually, it looks really cool. And so they could just add the flak back in as just a visual, like a non-interactive visual thing, just to make it look cool. If testing shows the updated carrier gameplay like depth, blah, 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 an option could be to bring back flak through new mechanics. All right, okay. Secondary aviation changes. To make things more consistent and to address a very popular feedback point among our community, patrol fighters, combat air patrol, and fighters, including those on surface ships, won't be able to spot ships. I assume that doesn't include then spotting planes. This will make spotting system even simpler and, more importantly, remove a spotting tool that was initially designed purely as an instrument against enemy aircraft. Due to these changes, Napoli and Napoli B will get spotting aircraft in the same slot as the fighter to have an opportunity to detect opponents while using her exhaust smoke generator. Is that the only ship that has a fighter engine smoke combo? I guess it is. Yeah, I guess it is. That sort of passively says that spotting aircraft will still spot, which is what I would assume. Although I don't think it actually says that anywhere in this article, but that's what it implies. Additionally, we've introduced the following changes. The number of planes in the fighter squadron has been increased. Takes them less time to start attacking, which is interesting. Does that include the fast response ones? Have they all increased? That's interesting. Patrol fighters now control a bigger area and also take less time to start attacking the targets. The reload time of both fighters and patrol fighters has been increased. To support these changes, we needed to implement some UI improvements. It will now be much easier to see if planes pose any threat to you or not. And this was probably, as a surface ship, my main complaint from the July test last year, was that you had no idea what was going on in the sky above you. For example, if you are controlling a battleship, a squadron in travel mode won't be considered a threat until it starts descending. At this moment, this applies only to controllable aircraft. What does that mean? The defense circle indication for aircraft varies based on the squadron's distance from ships and other planes. If the aircraft is at a significant distance and in travel mode, its indicator will be an orange arrow. If the aircraft is close to you and in travel mode, the indicator will be an orange plane. Additionally, plane markers in travel mode have a different visual identification compared to those in attack mode. Does that mean on the actual plane itself? Because that's what it needs. If the aircraft is at a significant distance in recon/attack mode, its indicator will be a red arrow. If the aircraft is close to you in recon or attack mode, the indicator will be a red plane. As an extra touch, if the enemy aircraft in your AA range switch from travel mode to recon or attacking mode, you'll be identified with a dedicated audio effect. I think I like this. I need to see it in action, but I think I like this. I think I like the fact that you can't tell the difference between recon and attack. I think that's kind of cool. So it means you have to like, are they not? It's pretty cool. Okay, and then changes to concealment. We've introduced balance changes. This is really interesting. We've introduced balance changes to the concealment system that should benefit overall gameplay. Base detectability by air and by periscope changed for all ships. It now can't be more than 10 kilometers. Interesting. Detectability penalty from being on fire has been unified for both surface and air detectability. Fires now universally increase ships' detectability range by 2 kilometers. That is going to asymmetrically disbenefit small ships, which is interesting. I'm not saying I disagree with that, I'm just saying. The detectability range of Japanese torpedo bombers has been increased. That I don't like, because it's going back to this thing of eroding national flavor. I've never liked the change to the Japanese carriers that has taken away their concealment thing. So I don't like them. Detectability range of depth charge airstrike fighters, patrol fighters, and interceptors has been increased from 7.5 to 10, so everything's 10. Detectability range by air won't increase when firing main battery guns, so you no longer have a bloom with your guns. So if there's a plane that is 10.5 kilometers away and you're in a battleship and you fire your guns, you will not be detected by that plane. Several commander skills for aircraft carriers upgrades and the Charlie Kilo signal have been updated or received balance changes. Not sure what that means. Economy changes. Economy changes. We're also looking at potential changes to the XP and credit earnings of aircraft carriers to accommodate the new system. They aren't final and are subject to change. Okay. Right, I'm going to go back up and read this thing again. Let's see if my brain can understand it a second time. Where is it? This. Automatic AA is a new defensive tool intended to discourage aircraft from repeatedly attacking the same ship. While your AA is shooting enemy aircraft, a special progress bar will passively charge up, similar to combat instructions. Okay. Once your progress reaches 100%, a passive bonus to AA damage automatically activates. Okay. In this iteration, the progress won't decay. After activation, by you? By the ship? Guess it's automatic, so not by you? After it just randomly activates when it hits 100%, even if you don't need it, automatic AA defense reinforcement will start losing its charge, even if there's nothing to attack. Oh, this is the same as last time. I hated this. I thought this was so stupid last time. Because it worked out that most of the time it activated when the planes had gone away. Almost every, I remember this now, almost every single time it would go ding, and it would start to activate after the planes are fucked off. Ben, it's still really badly described. I could describe this way better than this. But now I've remembered what this is, and it's the same as it used to be. This is stupid. Because you don't get to activate it, it just so happened last time. I remember maybe it could be tuned differently. But it always seemed to be active when there were no planes around, because it would get activated by the planes coming in. The attack run would complete, and the planes would F off, and then it goes, oh, I'm going to activate now, and there's nothing to kill. I got so pissed off with this last time. I felt so powerless because I didn't have control over it. If it was like on some of the special the combat instructions where you can activate it yourself, it would make way more sense. Like, oh, quick, crew, the planes are coming back. Let's go on like special orders or whatever. That would make way more sense if you could just press a button yourself. It should only deplete while actually firing at planes once it's activated. Yeah, they could do that. It could pause if it's not shooting, yeah, and then just like take from the pot if you like once it's filled up. Yeah, that would make sense. That then it could stay automatically activated. But I think it would be better. It would give the player more of a sense of doing something if it was player activated. It's just like a def AA that you charge. Yeah, I really didn't like this last time. Well, we'll see what it looks like, but I suspect I'm going to hate it again. But then the other concern, which I had, was as a carrier player, and I do play carriers, and I do enjoy playing carriers, and the July test made me think that I'm just not going to be playing carriers again because I hated it. One of the things that I didn't like was the changes are designed to stop the carrier player from repeatedly attacking the same ship. And while I understand why that's a thing, at the end of a match, sometimes you just absolutely have to kill a particular ship or spot it to death. And if you can't get anywhere near the bugger because you attacked them at the beginning of the match, that's kind of crappy. If you lost the match because you just can't get near that destroyer that you were trying to attack at the beginning of the game because they happen to be there, like, so the player is really stupid and they let you attack them over and over and over again, and then you get punished for it later down the line when you have to kill that ship to win. And I don't like that. Because as a surface, because if you take away the graphics and just think about the exchange of numbers, what I would think of as the meta game, if you just think about exchange of numbers, there's no penalty to a surface ship from repeatedly shooting the same surface ship. Arguably, if you penalize a carrier player from repeatedly attacking the same ship, you should also reduce the shell damage from one ship shooting another ship over and over and over again, because they're exactly analogous. I don't like it. Not a fan. As someone who plays both, well, it's like, yeah, I guess you could argue that saturation is a thing, but don't forget that saturation applies universally, and so it already applies to the carrier players. So you're adding an additional penalty that surface ships don't get. So you should also apply that additional penalty to the surface ships. Yeah, I agree. I get your point about it's asymmetrical, guys. Yeah, I get it. It's just that I'm just telling you, as the carrier player, it feels crappy. And this isn't a fuck the carrier players update, or it shouldn't be. So I'm a bit concerned that when playing the carriers, it's not going to be obvious which ships have benefits against me at that point during the match, which last time wasn't obvious at all, or wasn't even shown. So yeah, I have some concerns still, but I am optimistic about some of the things that have been improved. But I just remember that in July I did not like it at all. Most of it felt really crappy. So we'll see. We'll see whether I want to play carriers after this. So yeah, that's my thoughts. You guys were commenting the whole way through that, and I wasn't reading it. If anyone has anything that they would like to say, I'm now reading chat. Just so that's it. Because I could see people asking questions and commenting and stuff the whole way through that, and I wasn't reading. So the way that you install this, as it says in that thing, it's really easy. Just follow the instructions. But as Bin says, you might have to relog your WGC to see the option. But if you close it and reopen it, or just an easy way to do it, to restart your PC so that it logs back in again, you should see it. But if you've had your PC on for a long time and WGC has been in the tray for the entire time, you might need to relog to see the option. ClanST is the Clan Super Test server. I'm guessing it's just because that test server was available, so they've used that one. It's just a test server. Yeah, Pelto, see the comment from Ben. Well, I would counter that with imagine explaining the current, CV stuff to a player. It's arguably equally complicated, because you've got multiple things, multiple mechanics to explain, some of which are completely hidden. So arguably, it's no more or less complicated than it is right now. It's just different, and it's still not going to be included in a tutorial. End of the panel, CV on one side, DD on the other side. How will that work? Yeah. That is a good question. After the ads. Let me at them. I'm going to be playing a submarine. Yeah, possibly going to, yeah, because that, like it says in the article, in the dev notes, dodging flak is a very specific niche skill, and basically once you've learned it against a single target, it's basically you've then mitigated flak. You don't have to worry about flak because you're not going to fly into it because you know how to dodge it. It's a completely, if it's a single target, it's a pretty much completely circumventable thing, and so you no longer have to worry about it. So I can see the argument for the removal of that. It's just that I'm going to miss it visually, because I think visually it looks amazing. It's one of the things that makes carriers feel really exciting, is flying through the flat clouds. Because you're like, oh shit, we're gonna die. Like, it gives you that kind of sense of danger. Whereas when there's nothing, it's not gonna feel as dangerous. And I think being in a plane flying towards a battleship that's shooting you with AA should feel really dangerous, because it is really dangerous. And so I don't like that. I think I would prefer it to stay even if it's not doing anything. And from the point of view of a surface ship, when you look up and you see the planes coming towards you and you see the flak in the sky, it looks really cool. To talk to GM's comment. Yeah, so you've got a destroyer alive at the end of a match, and as the carrier player, you have to find it and kill it. So you're going to have to spend recon, right? So you're going to have some recon juice left. You're not going to be able to do that thing anymore where you fly around waiting until your planes get spotted and then kind of like narrowing the search, because presumably you're not going to have time to do that. It depends how much spotting juice, let's give it a name, spotting juice. It depends how much spotting juice they've given to the planes, because obviously it's going to be a big difference compared to whether is it 10 seconds or is it 10 minutes, right? It's active when you go into recon mode. So it's exactly the same as submarines diving. The difference is that it only recharges when you go back to the carrier, which doesn't have an equivalent for submarines. So submarines recharge when they come to the surface, planes recharge when they go back to the carrier. But otherwise it's the same. So when you go down to spot, it starts removing your time. Oh, when is the Clan ST active? Tomorrow. It says in the article. So, so you're going to have to spend this juice, however much you have of that. And you're going to have to, and there's also a transition time, right? So you can't dolphin. Don't know how much that transition time is. Presumably it's like 3-4 seconds. And so you're going to have to like go down, see if your planes are spotted. If they're not spotted, transition back up to high altitude, move to a different area, go down. So it's kind of similar, but it depends what that transition time is like. Because if it's 2-3 seconds, you'll be able to go up, come down, go up, go out, and go around and sort of survey. If it's 10 seconds, then it's going to be a lot more difficult. Because potentially in between those ups and downs, you could miss the destroyer. With the anti... So it depends, right, Jim? So it depends how strong that effect is. Because don't forget, almost everything in this game is a percentage. So percentage bonuses, percentage nerfs. And if it's a destroyer that doesn't have much AA in the beginning, a percentage increase of 100% is going to take it from being really, really crappy to just slightly crappy. And so it potentially it's not going to make any difference at all, because if it's a, whatever, aggro that doesn't have much AA to start with, it's probably not going to make much difference. If it's a Halland, then it's going to take it from being like really painful to attack to being completely impossible to attack, potentially. So I think it depends, and that's all stuff that's going to need to be tuned. But what it does mean is that a strong AA destroyer in that situation is going to be invincible, let's say. Whereas something that doesn't have much AA is going to be screwed. And I like that. I like that because it means that ships that have strong AA win against a carrier, which is how it should be. Because in the rock, paper, scissors, lizard, Spock of world warships, an AA ship should beat a carrier. If you are in a Worcester and there is a carrier on the other team, you should piss all over it. If you are in a ship that doesn't have AA, it should be the reverse. The carrier should be able to do whatever it likes to you. That is how it should be. This game is not symmetrical. If this game is symmetrical, it's boring, and which is why I'm concerned about a lot of the recent changes making the ships more similar to each other, because that's just going towards being more boring. So I think a lot of it, GM, depends on tuning. It depends on the balance of those mechanics and like what those percentages are, how they act upon the base ship. But very rarely is it 1v1. And so I think it's going to come down more to spotting than it is to attacking. But as someone who is pretty good at attacking destroyers in a carrier, particularly with torpedoes, I'm a little bit concerned that I'm not going to be able to do that anymore. Not because of any of these AA changes, but because of the way that the attack runs have changed. Because before, it was pretty much completely impossible to attack a destroyer because you had to take such a long straight run up to do any attack on anything that it made it completely impossible to attack anything that wasn't basically a battleship. And so we shall see. I really hope that that feeling of running down a really long flight of stairs is gone, because that was just horrible and made me not want to play carriers at all. I mean, I said after the July test last year, I said, if this happens, I'm never playing carriers again. It's not happening. Because it was so incredibly horrible.